Namaskar from our channel, The Consultants View. Engineering design circumscribes the fundamental principles of mathematics and science, which eventually gets followed by its application to technologies at different disciplines. Engineers utilize the design knowledge to improve system, increase efficiency, and address technological challenges across diverse sectors. Then, how it differs from engineering consultancies. Engineering consultancies encompasses specialized knowledge, analytical skill, problem-solving attitude, commercial and managerial capability, due regards to societal needs of the day, environmental concern, communication skill, and most importantly, professional ethics. Consultancy provides a much broader spectrum beyond the engineering design solution or engineering aspects. Combination of all required skills or art can bring manifestation to render a complete solution through engineering consultancies. The topic of discussion today is engineering design and the art of engineering consultancy. Our guest today is Mr. Sandeepan Chowdhury. Namaskar, Sandeepan.
Hi, Parthu.
Yeah. Before we break down to the topic of discussion, let me introduce Mr. Sandeepan. Sandeepan is a postgraduate in civil engineering from Jadavpur University with a specialization in environmental engineering. Starting his career at DCL, he has spent over 28 years in the water industry working with several renowned organizations including DHV India, the utility division of TCS, STUP Consultants, now a part of Assystem, LASA, and WAPCOS. He has also served ADB Manila and ADB India Resident Mission as consultant. Throughout his career, Sandeepan was so far involved in more than 17 internationally funded projects in India and abroad in different capacities, from design engineer to domain expert to team leader. These include projects supported by JICA, USAID, World Bank, and ADB, focusing on water supply, wastewater management, drainage, and fecal sludge management. Sandeepan has delivered invited lectures, seminars, and webinars at institutions of repute such as IWWA, Kolkata and Mumbai, Jadavpur University, and Bentley, India. He also has international journal publications to his credit. Lastly, I should say Sandeepan is my good friend and colleague. We worked on the same domain of engineering consultancies. In my career, I came across a personality with such immense knowledge and overview on engineering consultancy. Yes, Sandeepan.
Yes, Parthu. A lot talked about other things. Let us come to the main topic.
Yeah. So, before we deep down to the discussion, let me say this, that today's discussion will focus on water utility sector, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whatever we discussed regarding the design engineering and art of consultancy, it will be in the water industry.
Yeah. So my first question will be, as you often talk, the art of consultancy. Do you mean consultants should have a set of skill set which is different from engineering or design engineering?
Yeah, Parthu, let me start with a very small story. Instead of just telling what is the qualities good consultants require or what is the art of consultancy. Sometimes 3-4 years back, I was involved in a project in a mountainous region. It's not India, another country. And it was a big intake which was constructed for a WTP around, say, 170 MLD capacity, and it was fed by a mountainous river. That is, the river has its origin in the mountainous region, and there was one stream which was main stream which was feeding the river was originating from a glacier kind of system. So people make a very good design of the intake. It was a marvelous design, and then they did some kind of tunnel structure for conveying the water from intake to the WTP, and the whole network, etc., was done. So it was a marvelous design. I should say I was really thrilled to see the design that in a mountainous region, such capacity and such work was done. But the main issue is people really forgotten that there is a glacier at the top, and people didn't care about that. They checked with the long-term data for water availability and all these things. Now came into picture the climate change, that global warming. So the glaciers slowly start melting. So they earlier mentioned in the reports that the glacier melts, but that didn't ring any bell to anyone. Okay, so people just wrote that the glacier melts by this amount and that increases the flow or something like this, and that's all. But what happened? The glacier melted completely and the mountain was denuded, and there was rocky areas with all kinds of loose debris and gravels and all these things. And one fine monsoon, when there is a heavy monsoon rains, as you know, in the hilly region, it happens quite often. There is a kind of a flash flood with muds and all the heavy gravels and boulders, I should say, coming down heavily, and there is a big impact on the intake structure. Intake structure was destroyed, swept away, completely devastated.
Whole intake structure?
It was totally devastated. Nothing else, only the intake structure was devastated. The tunnels and other things, everything stood in their place quite intact. But the intake was devastated. You can understand it is coming down from a high mountainous region with a lot of velocity, and the impact was quite heavy. So the treatment plant was out of action for almost 2 years. So it was designed by very good design engineers. They considered every aspect, but what happened? They didn't consider this risk. So this is something, I think, where the art of consultancy comes. That you not only provide a solution, you provide a holistic solution. That solution includes the risk. That solution includes all the global aspects. That solution includes sustainability. That solution includes the geopolitical situation and other things, because now you know there is presently tension going on regarding boundary river water distribution and all these things. I'm not going into that, but I'm just saying that geopolitical situation may also affect your basic engineering things. So when you are a consultant, you have to think about all these things. Why I talked about this geopolitical situation and other things. Sometimes maybe you are, we have often worked in other smaller south countries. I have worked in Nepal and Bhutan extensively. So they don't manufacture pipes. So you bring them from India. So you have to keep in mind that if your pipe is manufactured in northeastern part or near around say North Bengal part or in the northern India, it is easier to bring in. If it is something which is to be brought in from Maharashtra or some southern part of India, then it costs much more. So if there is, for some reason, there is a road problem or there is some geopolitical problem, totally it will be cut off. So you have to think that, okay, I should choose a pipe material which have multiple source. This country doesn't produce it, but there are multiple sources. So what I'm talking about is you have to take every decision based on the complete solution. So now if I try to sum up, the basic art of consultancy is a client-centric understanding.
Client-centric
understanding. In a design engineering, your total focus is on the engineering solution, which is more knowledge-based, which is more codal provision, manuals, books, etc. But in this client-centric understanding, you have to understand what your client really needs. I put an emphasis on this word really, because otherwise your client tell you something, but maybe he is not asking for this. Now I'm just breaking down more. Suppose your client tells you, I want a 200 ml WTP. So a design engineer immediately puts all his brain into action. He just gather whether the source is sustainable, whether I have to draw 200 plus some loss with other considerations from the freshwater intake, and then how I convey it to the treatment plant, how I take it to the booster stations, and then how I distribute, and all these things, all these aspects. And these are all good things. He will surely consider the environmental things and other aspects and everything. But maybe a consultant will first ask, do you really need a 200 ml WTP, or you need to ensure an equitable supply in the whole city, and maybe instead of 200 you can break it up into 150 in a decentralized manner, or maybe you needn't have to construct the 200 in one go. You can have a phased implementation. Or maybe what about some water recycling? Have you give it a thought? Maybe you can use some of your used water as a source, and maybe you haven't really considered the dual plumbing possibility in your new vertical. So he will totally focus on the complete picture. He will ask the consultant about what the growth plan of the city, what is the ultimate vision of the city. So the client's whole need, which sometimes is, you see, sometimes your client is not a tech-savvy engineer. Sometimes your client is a municipality which is totally driven by councillors, and they may be very much clear about their needs, but they may not be very much technologically aware that what is the best option. So they just say, I need a WTP, I need a distribution network so the people get water. So you have to extract from them. So you need to build a rapport with them. So now I think I gave two examples. So we can now sum up. Relationship building with the client is very important. You have to earn the trust of the client, so he opens up and tells you what he has in mind. If you don't ask the client the right questions, then he will not be able to tell you. So you have to have that art to learn, that I will ask the client this question, so that even if he is not so tech savvy, he will be able to tell me what he wants. And you have to have a very good and effective communication skills, so that the client can understand what you are telling. Because a design engineer will go and tell, okay, you have this option, that option, this option. So he will just get confused that, he will tell you what you decide. So you see, ultimately your client is the owner, the asset owner is the client. So if you cannot create that ownership sense when you are taking the decision, then later it may cause a problem. But the consultant's role is that you present the case studies, you present the optioning in such a manner in front of your client that he immediately understands, oh, well, this is something which I can relate to. So you have to be a good storyteller, good presenter, good, I should say, communicator in whole, so that the client can understand what you want to tell. And at the same time, you should have the insightful question asking skills, so that you can extract information from them. I'm telling you that we recently faced a problem in a drainage project in a city near Kolkata. When we give the client a set of drawing, and we asked that you have all the people who are managing the drainage system in individual boroughs and wards, just give them the drawings and ask them to mark that what are the problem areas. And also they said that my people who are really working there, they are not so good in reading these drawings from AutoCAD or paper print. So you have to talk with them. So we finally sit with them. We showed them the drawing, then we asked them the local road names and other things, and they just showed their paper drawings which they make as a jot down kind of thing. And ultimately, discussions after discussions, we were able to extract the information. So this is something what is not a design engineering thing, but an art of consultancy. Why I am calling this an art? The art of questioning, art of knowledge management.
Correct.
You see, knowledge management is not a very common practice in our water industry. So in our means, I am talking about the Southeast Asian context. So what happens when people have a lot of information in their head? So when someone leaves a municipality or leaves a organization, the information goes away with him. So as a consultant, you have to extract the information from him, and that is the art of questioning. So this is why I am using the word art of consultancy. So this is something. And then there is the question of change management. You see, any client, especially if it's a government client, unless it is a private client, he will be always resistant to any change. The people will think, okay, this is my system, I just want to augment it, extend it, expand it, but don't disturb my system. People are generally resistant because they are it is not their negative mindset I am saying, but it is not human psychology. It is their typically all our municipalities are functioning in such a manner. People are so much burdened with lot of political pressure, lot of financial issues of the municipality. They just don't have this capability to take a new thing in their mindset. So they just want to go with the flow. So in that case, you have to come up with ideas, tell them, and when they resist, if you just say, oh, these people, they don't understand the thing. No, this is the totally wrong thing. You have to again come back, again remodel your ideas. You have to be flexible so that they can understand the thing. And this persuasion, or I should say manipulation of the client, is one very important art a consultant should learn. So I think now I can summarize all the things. And last one thing is strategic thinking. Strategic thinking means he should think in wholesome, that is social, environmental, financial, economical context, and the all technical considerations. So strategic thinking is something which is a systematic thinking, multidisciplinary thinking, and which I think we will come more about the strategic thinking later. But we sum up more in this manner: a client-centric understanding, a relationship building, creative problem solving, that is you have to solve out of the box, then effective communication, the change management, and strategic thinking and adaptability. So these are the things which I understand as basic things of the art of consultancy.
Well explained, Sandeepan. Very well explained. So you have already covered most of the elements which a consultant should have. Are there anything which an engineer should have to be a good consultant?
I think there are lots of soft skills which which an engineer needs to keep in his skill set, so that other than his normal engineering skills, which makes him a consultant, which graduates an engineer into a consultant.
Graduates an
engineer into a consultant. Okay. So what I am talking about the skills, it is I should say a vision. He should have a good vision that I am approaching a client, so my vision will be to have the most benefit given to the client. So this is a vision, and he should be able to read others' vision. As I mentioned earlier, systematic thinking is something very important. Critical analytic power, because, well, I am not saying that this analysis is not like your structural analysis or hydraulic analysis or software analysis. This analysis is when you approach a client, you need to think critically. What is the equation he has with someone else? Who are the major role players in this project? How we can manipulate them? How we can influence them? So this is something very important. He should have good adaptability, and he should have leadership qualities and ability to teamwork, because you see, consultancy is always a multidisciplinary activity. So you have a structural designer, you have a hydraulic designer, you have a WTP expert, you have a network analysis for this thing, you have a STP expert. But a consultant, when he is working as a consultant, he cannot say, I will just do my design and I will shut the book and I will go. He has to be interactive, he has to get inputs from the team, and he has to have the capacity to gel with the team, so that he is understanding what other people are thinking, because his is not a ring-fenced or isolated work. He is getting into a total picture. He is just a cog in the whole wheel. So he may be a consultant. Maybe I am having a water supply consultant or WTP consultant, but that WTP consultant also needs to understand what are the environmental aspects, what are the social aspects. And negotiation and stakeholder management is another very important thing. Negotiation, as I told you earlier, that anyone who is into the consultancy should negotiate with the client. Negotiation is a very important thing, because if you cannot negotiate, you cannot get your things through. So again, if I summarize, I told the things in a bit bits and pieces.
No, it's okay. Fine. Go ahead.
Interdisciplinary knowledge, client communication and involvement with the client. Another thing is, which I didn't elaborate much, regulatory and legal issues should be something be very conversant with, because you see, a design engineer needn't have to be much conversant about regulatory issue, but suppose I am telling you that not only regulatory, it's policy issues also, regulatory and policy and legal issues, because suppose a client is doing some project and he's complaining, you see, I cannot go for this WTP and all these things because I will have a lot of energy costs and my STP or WTP will not run in future duty. And then he talker to you, okay, you can do it in a sustainable manner. Why don't you put up some solar panels in all over your buildings? It may not be the buildings in which you are working. Maybe you can ask him, okay, you are working from such a huge building, why don't you put up solar panels in these buildings and we can get some grid power into this and this can save some of your energy costs and that will help you. So this kind of things that, okay, if you do this thing, it will earn you benefit. Yeah. Suppose he can tell him that, okay, carbon credit is something which you can look into. So this is one aspect. So he should be able to, and other things is, suppose you know the water quality requirement, especially not in our country, but in other countries, the regulatory requirement for treated water often changes. So he has to foresee and know these things so that in future, if the client lands into a trouble that, okay, in 2025 I install a STP and there is a regulatory framework impending which the client was not aware about, and 5 years down the line I found out that I have to retrofit with some costly installation. So you should tell the client that when choosing the technology, it may not be relevant for now to you, but in longer run it will be beneficial, because suppose a nutrient removal, now the client may say, okay, it is not so stringent now, but you can say, oh, anytime the regulations will come, and then you will find it very difficult to accommodate or retrofit in your system. So this is another thing, and out of the box thinking and value-based engineering. So
value-based engineering.
Tell
something like on this.
Value-based engineering means your solution should add some value to the client. It is not just a WTP or a network you should construct. You should also, because you see, a good consultant should also help the client to acquire values. That is, it's a kind of hands-on training. It's kind of asking him for some business process change, asking him for some institutional change. So he can, suppose I am telling you one very simple thing. When we were, you were also involved in that project. When we were doing the KEIP project, we have in PMC, we have a group of Dutch consultancy team. And the first thing they suggested that we have a fragmented stakeholder over this whole drainage system. The pumping stations are owned by someone, the WTP STPs are owned by someone, the network is owned by someone, and the canals are owned by someone. So we have different stakeholders. This I call it fragmented stakeholders. So they said that assets should be transferred to one organization. I am not saying it has been done, but this suggestion was well taken, and lot of asset transfer were done, that is you are aware about. So this is what I say, that this is some business process change. The objective is very simple. We want to make Kolkata free from waterlogging, but the consultant is suggesting you should have a single stakeholder, otherwise management of the whole thing will be difficult. So this is where the difference between design engineering and the art of consultancy comes, because he is saying that I can install any number of pumping station, I can do any kind of network improvement, but if it is not a single body, it will be very difficult to manage, because who will be the person who is taking the charge, who will be maintaining, who will be the man in crisis. So that is why this kind of oneness is required. So this is something. So I think
Okay, Sandeepan, now let us go to the next question. It is clear to me that engineering consultancy and engineering design or engineering knowledge are a bit apart. So what are your supporting views if you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, I think we in the first two questions we talked more elaborately. Let us summarize. You see that engineering knowledge or design engineering, as we discussed in the whole discussion, it is more about concepts of science and technology. Familiarity with different tools and softwares is all these software structural STAD, ETABS, Plaxis, Sweat Gems, Water Gems, EPANET, all these things. Then experimental works sometimes, testings, field testings, laboratory testings, and standards, codes, and problem solving in different conditions. But everything is under a controlled environment. What I mean by controlled environment is that I give this input and I get this output. So there is no surprise. There is no surprise element. But when you do a consultancy, it's all in an adverse or ill-conditioned environment. Why I call it ill-conditioned environment? Because you go to a client thinking that, okay, I will make him accept my proposal on this. Suppose I am telling you that water metering. When you go to a client who is politically non-motivated or whatever, I use the word politically because this is a very common thing in our country. So then if you just say that okay, if you just quote French philosopher or some big person that if you cannot measure it, you cannot control it, this kind of things, your client will just throw you out. So you have to come up with innovative thoughts and you have to come up with ideas, and it is an adverse situation. So you have an idea to sell. It's sell means it's not financial sales. You have to make him accept this idea, and you are passing through a adverse and ill-conditioned environment. So there you have to bring in all your regulatory, environmental, financial aspects. You have to tell your client, okay, if you allow people to use so much of water in after say 10 years, you will be in crisis. You will be the owner and you will not be able to provide sufficient water. Then you tell that, okay, regulatory things, all over the world people are doing these things. If you do not do these things, your commitment to SDG goals, etc., it will not be fulfilled. And then you come with the financial things that if you keep on doing these things and don't install meters, your ultimately budget and all these things. So you give him scenarios based on different aspects. Okay. So ultimately, you have to sell your idea, you have to convince the client, you have to make the client understand your solution on the basis of your certain manipulative skills, which are in a framework but not technical framework. So this is the main difference. And okay, you also have a liability or obligation to deliver the reports, design reports, plans and other things, whichever but all these aspects will give a wholesomeness of solution so that the client can understand, yes, I am getting a complete view, and he should get convinced that well it is a solution which I have not thought about. There are some aspects which was not in my mind earlier, so maybe he is enriching me. This enriching, I told you the value addition, value solution. This is the value addition that the client understands that, okay, I get benefit for every paisa I have spent behind this consultant, and instead of a design engineer, I have a consultant, and this consultant is giving me dividends. So this is, I think, is the basic difference. I told you that it is not about your book knowledge, not your academic. You can be a very good design engineer, but maybe you don't have good communication skill, you don't have good convincing power, and maybe you are a little bit impatient. So when the consultant client says that no, I don't want this currently, you say, what is, most of the design engineers say, what is my stake? I will get the money, I will do the things. So it is a totally different mindset, that if you are a consultant, you will say no, I have to convince the solution, that is the thing, because I care about it. And the design engineer only care about the output. So there is a difference between strategic solution and output based solution.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have given a lot of examples from the one. So can you give a few more which would appropriately demonstrate?
I'll share some examples which both of us have experienced. You see, in Bhutan, when we both worked, initially it was sometimes in 2008-9 when I first started working in Bhutan, and initially we were working in South Thimphu. South Thimphu was then just like a village, barren lands and all these things, and then we were doing population projection for both water supply and sewerage, and my boss was Jadavpur, Dutchman.
Yeah, Dutchman.
And I did typical population calculation methods, arithmetic progression based, geometric progression based, then the logistic curve, incremental increase, whatever all is available in the CPHU manual and all these things, and I got answers. Then he said that, well, I think this is not the scenario. I said, why? He said, please go to the department and ask them how many houses are built in the last 4 years with every year's data. It was not easy, but we somehow managed to get. And then you see over the last 4 years, which were not basically the census years, the growth is quite high. I said, so what? I am going by the books. He said, no. You do two scenarios. One, what you are doing, that is fine. And then you take a high growth scenario, which considers the rate at which the houses are being built and what they have in mind, because at that point of time they were selling plots there, and even they were thinking, we heard in some discussions that they were thinking about adding one more, because in the hilly region they generally construct 2-story buildings or all these things, but in Thimphu they were then thinking about 3 or 4 stories they will allow, and these talks were going on. So he says, you consider maybe a little bit of higher side and do it. So reluctantly I did it, and in 2017 when I last went to Thimphu, I found that South Thimphu is a concrete jungle. So it is sometimes a different perspective.
That's a realistic solution.
And another project both of us we worked in.
Which one?
An ADBTA project in Bihar, in which we were both spending time calculating the population and population projection, and then someone came from, it was an UK expert, I'm just not taking his name, and he asked us, what keep you so much busy? Then we said that we were doing the population projection, and he said, don't spend time in doing something which is expected to go wrong. Rather than doing all this calculation and curve fittings, do something realistic and all these things. And now very recently I am involved in a special development strategy project, and I found out that the population projection which the modeling is they are doing, which is totally different from this conventional method we use, and they are more into growth based projection. So this is what I am saying, that sometimes your other things are more important than the typical conventional manual things.
Traditional manual.
And another thing I will tell you, that per capita water supply. It is a very pivotal, pivotal thing in any water sector project, because it will also be reflected in the sewage generation, WTP's capacity, STP's capacity, and all these things. And what happened, we are generally being asked to follow the manual for large cities, metro cities, and class 1 cities, 150 to 200 and all these things. And in a recent project of NRW management somewhere around Kolkata, it was measured and find out that per capita water supply in some areas of Kolkata is coming around 400 to 600 liter per capita per day. And the reason is very odd, that people who are storing water in their overhead tank, they are just draining out the water overnight, stored water, because they think that this water, I just cannot translate this term because they call it bashi water.
Yeah, that's the old culture.
So they just drain out this water, and that water is wasted. So here, if you want to implement a water supply scheme or NRW management scheme, first you have to do social engineering, and you have to do extensive awareness creation campaign to make people understand that this is not acceptable, you cannot do it, you cannot do these things. So these kind of things are out of the book. That is what I told you earlier, out of the box thinking. That is, first you have to think what is the root of my problem. If I cannot go into the problem, you put on n number of valves, you control, manage the demand side, you run through all your conventional European and Western books of NRW management, and you will not be able to understand why this high water consumption is. But this is the practice. So social engineering is a very important aspect for engineering consultancy, which the design engineer may not have to get into. Okay, I think we have enough examples.
Now, Sandeepan, it's a very critical question.
Yeah, tell me. Your questions are always interesting.
It's my observation, of course. Nowadays, clients are not very happy with the quality of consultants. That's my observation, as I told you.
You mean with us?
Okay. So, as you are agreeing, do the consultants lack in adopting the art of consultancy, what you have just explained?
I'll make a cheeky remark. You see, happy client is an oxymoron. Have you ever seen a happy client? Okay, happy client is the one whom you do everything without any charge. Okay, no, it's just joking. I will start with a very old story. There is a story going around regarding the consultants. It's a very familiar story. It's not about water sector only. There is a shepherd was busy with his flock in a barren land. Then a consultant came with a car, get down with lots of gadgets, and then told the shepherd that I will count your sheep. I will tell you how many black and white sheep are there. He used his GPS, all his image processing units and all these things, did all the things, and then finally told you have these things and that things. So he said, I knew all these things. I am the owner. So then the consultant said, but I helped you to accurately assess these things. So I want a fees. I said, what? I want one sheep. I said, please, you are free to choose. Then he just picked up the dog. Okay, so these basically signifies two things: that the consultant tell you what you already know. There is no value addition. Second thing is they don't want to charge properly. They just charge something which they also do not understand why they are charging. Now, this is the first thing, is what I think is somehow lacking, the value addition. Because nowadays often there are two things also, that if the client wants the value addition, and if the consultant is capable of doing value addition. Nowadays what happens, that consultants often get little time for their assignments, so that also affects the value addition. But I think as a commitment to the profession of consultancy, no consultant should prepare a report which doesn't give any value addition. So they should give a value addition. And every client wants his consultant to go to the field. Now, sometimes consultants, due to availability of lot of gadgets and lot of satellite images, Google Earth and all these things, they really don't need to go to the site. But sometimes for the satisfaction of the client and also for the sake of familiarity, they should visit the site more, so that the client can understand he is not just working from the good air-conditioned room and he is filling the site. So this is what you said, not satisfied. This is just said these consultants are sitting in the room and doing just meaningless reports. So this is just the thing.
And invoicing.
And ego clash is another thing. You have to recognize the skill of the client. You see, now due to wide use of internet and other things, you can get any information. How to do a SBR design, or how to do a design of a complicated network, you can get good examples from internet. So once the client sees that, he says that I know this also, what additional he is doing. So this is the additional thing which you have to do. You have to tailor-made your solution in such a way that the client needs to feel that yes, he has done this thing which I could not just get from AI or internet searching. So I think here is something what the consultants can do in a more devoted manner so that the clients don't feel it.
Thank you, Sandeepan. My next question is also critical.
You are only asking me critical questions.
Since last 1 decade, we observe an increase in the trend of retired government officials coming to this consultancy field. In one way, it is enriching the consultancy. What is your views? How do you see it?
You see, why this is happening, I am not going into that, because that is
that's
this is
separate
a
issue.
resource issue. So I'm not interested into that. But as you are saying, you see, basically a government engineer has a good opportunity to see the whole project cycle, because you see, we the professionals who are working in the private sector, we work as a water supply engineer, we work as a WTP expert, but they don't have the luxury of having so many specialized persons in one project. So a government engineer, as he rises to the rank, he starts from seeing the project inception to the project financing, to the investor issues, to the site selection, to the contractor selection, to execution issues, and finally project closure.
And
so
also operation maintenance.
Yes, and that I am coming after operation maintenance, after that operation maintenance. So he has a complete understanding of the total project cycle, project life cycle. So this is what a very good advantage for any engineer as a consultant, because he has the complete overview. He knows if I take this decision, what will happen. So I think this is something which any government engineer, when he comes into the industry, can use as a leverage. But there are two aspects I will just mention that generally government engineers, suppose someone who is coming from the rank of chief engineer or superintendent engineer, they are the decision makers. So it is very difficult to get that mindset totally erased. You cannot get rid of that mindset. So when you are interacting with another client, you should not have that superiority complex that I am the decision maker.
Flexibility
So that flexibility should be there. And another thing is, they are working in a fixed environment. So adaptability is a little bit required thing. But I personally think I have seen a lot of good consultants who were earlier in their earlier life government engineers, because there is no clash in it. I just think it is perfectly okay. It's how you remold yourself, and they have the qualities which can help them to graduate as a good consultant.
Talk something about the operational maintenance business, because they are very much
Yes, this is something, you
that.
see, we are really, because unless you work for a specific company like Veolia or some other company who are Suez, who are into the specific service of operation maintenance, you have very little opportunities to get involved into the asset management part. So they are the person, they know how to manage public, how to manage political pressure, how to manage limited resource. So this is an big advantage for them. So this is I think you cannot deny that, because any project where operation maintenance is a big thing, you have to really fall back on their knowledge. They have really very good vault of knowledge with them.
Engineering students with management as post qualification go through a set of skills in management courses. Do you think that management degree holder with engineering background can be a better consultant than engineers or engineering planner?
You see, again, what management teaches you, which you do not get in your engineering courses. Management basically endows you with some skills for strategic thinking, risk mitigation, your client relationship management, and your communication skill in all priority. So these are one of the major qualities which one should have as a consultant. So if an engineer can acquire a degree in some management subject, that's good. But I am telling you one thing: if in our country, if someone wants to specialize in some stream, he after a 4-year degree course graduation, he will do another 2 years of post graduation. So 4 plus 2, 6. Then again he will go into an MBA. You expect I'm not saying it's a must, but if you do an MBA, you can acquire certain skills. You learn certain skills which can help you to become a good engineering consultant. But what happens actually when people do an MBA, you have so much opportunities to migrate into other fields. People don't generally fall back. So I think it's not a must. If you acquire an MBA degree, if you do it through distant learning as a side by activity, it's okay. But you can acquire all these skills on your own also. And regarding planning, you see, we have urban planners, we have regional planners, transport planners, green planners, sustainability planners. So I don't think you have any specialized infrastructure planners are also there. So they look into the more strategic vision, that is how the whole area or how the whole aspect will transform after a certain period of time, after a design horizon. And they are more into spatial management. They have good regulatory and policy related issue knowledge, and they can do good data analysis. I should say spatial data analysis. But I don't think it is very easy for a design engineer. Suppose you are a hydraulic engineer. It is not very easy for you to certainly go back to the planning business, do a degree, and then come back into again your original thing. So, if you have a planning degree after your graduation, you can mix them very well together, and you can be a good consultant. But again, I am saying that a consultant can have any number of additional skill sets, which can be through a degree program, which can be through an academic program, but it is not a must. So, okay, if you are engineering consultant with MBA degree, with a planning degree, okay, you are bolstering your skills, but it is not a must. You can also manage without these degrees.
Yeah, we got it. Earlier, cost of consultancy, including supervision also, was used to be more or less 5 to 6% of the project cost. Since last 2 decades, it has reduced to 2.2 to 3%.
You are talking about with including supervision, because supervision is not something which we are, because
no,
project management consultancy.
My question is that is it the qualitative issue of the consultant or any other reasons?
You see, 2 things are there. First of all, in Southeast Asia, I am not much aware about the European or Mediterranean situation now. We have mushrooming of lot of companies. That's happening. So when you have more competition, the costs are bound to come down. Another thing is something which you must be acknowledging, that in nowadays what happens, first you prepare a DPR, then that DPR gets financing, and then you go into the project, and when the contractor, if especially if he is a DBOT contractor, then it's must.
DBOT design, build, operate, transfer.
Otherwise also, then you have some kind of confirmatory survey or something, and again you have a design supervision consultant, as you are including the supervision thing there. He rectify the designs and redo this. So this mindset of the client that I will have a 2-stage thing. So generally when they prepare the DPR, they put a very less amount for that. So if you multiply your 2.2 to 3 with 2, then you will see ultimately this 2-stage consultancy is actually bringing in the same amount. But I think it is very very difficult to translate in that way, but possibly this is the reason that due to this fractured mechanism of implementation, the consultancy fee get a little bit diluted.
That means, can I take that qualitative issue is not the major issue?
Do you think that even if you see in earlier days compared to the workmanship and other things, even the contractors are also performing poorly, but has that brought down the prices? So I don't think that quality has such a major role that it will reduce the prices by almost 50%. So no, I don't.
So we are coming to the end of our session today, Sandeepan. My last question would be, what would be your advices to the young professionals on art of consultancy?
First thing, they have to be a constant learner. You have to know all your technical developments which are happening around you. I am not saying that you have to learn Python tomorrow, you have to learn AI tomorrow, but I'm just giving you a small example. In 2020, when we were checking some survey drawings, for accuracy, we used to convert the survey center line drawings into KML files and superpose into Google Earth and check it. Now, we have the facility that in AutoCAD with the geolocation feature, we can see the Google map in the background of my AutoCAD drawing. So if you don't know how you can use your recent tools, then you are not a good consultant. So he has to keep learning. All the AI changes are coming. I am not asking you that you have to use AI for preparing your report, but you should be able to learn, okay, I need to make a good presentation, how I can generate some good pictures using AI so that the client can get convinced. And instead of using PowerPoint shapes and tools for that purpose, you can generate it in short time. And also use the Excel and other things which are also, I'm just talking about tools. Similarly, softwares, now we in India, we are all engaged in drainage improvement plans and all these things, and we do the drainage design using mainly SWARGM, StormCAD and all these things. And in the meantime, the Middle East and European market is almost infested with InfoWorks ICM, and in India we are not much popularizing it. So I'm not saying that tomorrow you have to learn InfoWorks ICM by closing all your works and spending all your times and burning midnight lamps, but you have to know what is there in InfoWorks ICM so that you can tell a client that, okay, even if I do this, there will not be much difference in the results. So this is something very important, that this upward skill development thing. I'm just giving examples from software and tools because these areas are constantly developing. Similarly about the technologies also, the treatment technologies, the pipe materials and all these things. So good communication skills, they must develop. That some client may like a very gorgeous presentation with lot of illustration and other things, and some clients say, oh, those are rubbish. I just want
to say effective communication.
Effective communication and understanding your audience. That is, when you are talking to your client, sometimes you have to be very humble, sometimes you have to be a little bit rigid, but you have to understand which client requires what. So they should try to understand the audience. That is one important thing that is. And another thing is, they should be very conversant in communication skills. That is not only verbal communication, report writing. I am not asking that they should write pages after pages report with Chaucerian English, but effective writing, that reports should be clear, reports should have clarity, reports should clearly convey what they want to communicate, because it should not be such a poor communication that I want to mean something and they get something else. And last thing, they should learn to recover very quickly from the failures. It is just like a football ground. The client will always foul you and you have to quickly recover and again get back to the client with a new approach, new idea. So this is, you have to fall and rise very quickly. So if they don't learn this, if they say, in our earlier days also we suffered. So
in mathematical terms, rate of recovery.
Yeah, it should be very short. They should recover very quickly. They should understand that it is his natural response. So I should take a different path. So that's all.
Great, Sandeepan. So we are coming to the end, Sandeepan. So how do you see my initiative to promote
Yeah,
consultancy
this is
in
something
this
which
different form through this platform.
which I appreciate very much, because you see, you are I have listened to your earlier sessions, and I have also viewed them in YouTube's, and you are basically trying to disseminate the knowledge which people gained through practical experiences, because that is something which we cannot learn by viewing reels, viewing YouTube videos, reading books. So this is something which is coming from people's mouth, people's experience they are sharing. This is very much required, because I think this initiative should be spread among the young engineers, so that they can at least be aware of the issues. Okay, it is very hard to find out solutions in a 30 minutes discussion or 40 minutes discussion, but they should learn the issues. That will help.
Yeah.
That's
So
the thing.
I'm thinking to invite you to my session of learning. Okay. So students learning, engineering students learning on this art of consultancy.
Yeah, that will be something I will love to.
Thank you, Sandeepan. So
we are nearing the end of our career, so we should try to disperse our knowledge to the next generation.
Yeah. So it is from our channel. It is a certificate of participation, and we appreciate your joining to the channel.
Thank you, Partha. Thank you so much.
Namaskar.